All right, Steve. Now, I think anyone watching this can see that you were quite innovative. And bearing in mind, this is still the days before the internet and what's become normal now. In 1995, you were betting in running on football and golf. That was something very new. Actually, putting the prices in live. I mean, how did you know what prices to put in, and what sort of references were you using to come up with them? Was it trial and error, or?
We started, I believe we were the first firm to bet a football match in running. Typically, when you're taking bets to on the build-up to a live game, just prior to kick-off, all the phones ring in and people are trying to get on. The minute the game kicked off, people would stop. And all the betting would stop. And it was like, well, hang on, we could keep going. We can do this. We've got a computerised system now in the call centre. If I put prices in, it would change in everybody else's computer. If it looked like a goal was going in or a goal was going in, I would suspend it. So we had Sky Sports Teletext initially. We used to advertise through Sky Sports Teletext. We'd have a little in-running box and it would have the odds. Well, you've got your prices for the match that they were at kick-off time. I would sit there, be watching the match, and I'd have written down the prices I would be if it was 0-0 at half-time. Obviously, the draw would shorten up. Both sides would be bigger. You'd watch the match. If it was clear that one team were performing, let's say, better than you'd expect them to, you might just err on the side of caution. You were governed by your field book. So I've got a computerised field book in front of me. When the bets came in, it was there. It would show that this would lose this would win X. I'd also have prices written down in the event of either side scoring.
Were these, sorry to interrupt, were these bets coming in via the betting shop,
Phone.
by the telephone,
no,
or by the
just
phone?
telephone. No, the betting shops, I'm not sure what time it was legalised that you could stay open after 6:30, but this was purely in the call centre. Telephone bets, pre-internet. Internet, in terms of betting sites, was still to come. This was prior to that. It was all telephone bets. It was debit cards. It was a couple of that had credit accounts, but it was mainly debit cards. So we've got prices that, in the event of a goal, this is what I would be. Now you could get that from your pre-match handicap prices. Now, depending if and when, if a goal went in, what time it went in, you would just adjust it. It would just sort of seem the right price. You have to be very careful. Teams like Man United, your top teams, if they went a goal down, you must not overcook. You must not offer too much on them. You know, if you start offering 5-2, 3-1, 7-2 to win the game with, let's say, 35 minutes left, the amount of times they've come back and won it from there, and you're governed by your field book to a certain degree. You're putting prices in. If you look back now at the prices I was putting in then, you might think, oh, Christ, that was wrong. But that was it. There was no one else doing it. Your punters would tell you if you're wrong. We would lay it to whatever suited. We would never refuse a bet. If somebody wanted 400 on, it's fine. If somebody wanted, we had big punters. We should take bets. We used to take bets. That's what we were there for.
Were there any people that you suddenly realised were having you over?
I wouldn't say having us over.
Well, I mean, you know, but were better judges than you.
Yeah, absolutely. There was. You'd hear too many people saying, "Oh, I'm an expert on this. I'm an expert on that." Now, okay, I was pricing up all sorts of different events. It was like a production line. I'd have an A4 book and I'd write these prices out, photocopy it for the team that built the prices in the computer system, give a copy to Teletext, a copy to the guys that put it on the screens. And it was a kind of a production line. When people started coming through betting, especially later as the whole business grew, it was clear that on certain things, this guy knows a damn sight more about rugby league than I do, or that. You might have to put a little tag on their account, later lose 500 quid, later lose 200. But Yeah, which in this day and age, you think
It's a fair bet.
I've spoken to I've bumped into many a person. Oh, I used to have an account with Stan James. We're talking pro punters now. I used to have an account with Stan James. I could have what I wanted. Oh, great. We would lay bets and then we'd change the prices, which to me is the way of doing it.
Yeah, now we talked about Shrewdies there,
Yeah.
people that did their homework, but there was also a few bits of skullduggery that
Well,
weren't quite fair.
well, we had accounts open. We had some trade accounts because we were supplying shops. You would always attract, as a new company, you'd always attract some the sharper people, and we had one particular customer that if ever they came through, you'd say, "Well, what's going on here? There's something going on." There's always something going on, but more often than not, you don't know what's going on. It was about 9:30 on a Saturday morning, the first day of the World Snooker Championship at the Crucible. Jimmy White, trying his hardest to win the World Championship, playing Peter Francisco. And Steve Fisher took the phone call. He said, "I'm just going to put you on hold." Now he's turned to me, it's his company, he's turned to me, "So-and-so wants £200 on Jimmy White to win 10-2 at 6-1. Oh no, my foot, there's something up with this. I thought, how are we going to get out of this one? Didn't want to bet. We could have just said no, we didn't want it, but I said, just put them on hold, say you've got to speak to a trader. They didn't know who they were speaking to.
Was that you that coined that blooming phrase as well?
What's that? Yeah, it was. Well, hang on. I'm not going to sit. I'm not going to sit here and get blamed for everything. Crikey. No. So I've said to him, just say, "I'm ever so sorry. I need to speak to a trader." And they didn't realise they were talking to the he's the managing director. It's his bloody firm, right? So I've gone straight on the script. I've took the price. I've suspended the betting on it on that attempted bet. Put on there, sent over price, betting suspended, frame betting Jimmy White, send. Steve Fisher had gone, apologised, but I'm ever sorry, but the frame betting's all disappeared. We can't offer you anything. Oh, not a problem. Thanks very much. They're going to try and get on somewhere else. I said, this is dodgy. Then the minute the message went out on the screens, frame betting suspended on Jimmy White, Peter Francisco, I'd get phone calls. "Oh, mate, it's so and so in wherever they are. Yeah, Hills have cut it. They were 9-1. I think that when I checked it, I actually Googled it a couple of days ago. Hills were initially 9-1, and it had been backed all the way down to 7-4 before they eventually suspended. Now that in itself,
They gave them a lot of rope, didn't
well, to be honest, that if you haven't sort of caught on by then. So anyway, at the time, and one of the group of shops was Don Bruce Racing, based in Ruislip, a dozen shops. Don Bruce was the chairman of Bowler, and a certain Steve Fisher was the vice chairman. So there were a few phone calls. Anyway, they contacted the WPBSA, the World Snooker Authority, and it was started on the Saturday, finished to a conclusion on the Sunday. It was the first to 10, 19 frames. They've got Jimmy White in after the first session, or the Saturday, so it finished 7-2. So Peter Francisco, he's done his job. He's got his 2 frames. Job done. They've got Jimmy White in and said, "Jimmy, there's some very unusual betting patterns on this snooker match. Nothing to do with me." Well, it wouldn't be. He's trying his hardest to win the World Championship. They've said to him, "Would you give him every opportunity to win another frame?" Okay. Well, if you saw the footage for that Sunday afternoon, now all the commentary team, they're in on it. They know what's going on. Jimmy is setting him up. A simple blue to the middle pocket that Simon, I don't even know if you play snooker or pool or anything, you'd get it. I would get it 100 times, 99 times out of 100, you would pot it. Well, whispering Ted Lowe, the commentator, well, Peter needs this, he can win this frame, can he start a comeback? He's got to tap him brown to the bloody blue to the middle pocket. He's had to miss it, hasn't he? He's hit the side cushion. Well, extraordinary scenes, I can't remember such a frame. Of course, all the commentators are all in on it. And he's basically set him up for 2-3 frames on the trot. Of course, he cannot win this frame. A big inquiry. He got a 5-year ban, Peter Francisco. I'll just read exactly what it says. Not consistent behaviour in accordance to of a professional sportsman. He got a 5-year ban for that, but he didn't actually get done for match fixing.
Did they all get paid out, the punters?
I don't think they did. No.
Okay, so after all this illustrious career with Stan James, in 2009, they've relocated to Gibraltar. You've ended up with a
trade the prices.
Job.
Yeah.
So
75 of us made redundant. Very sad scenes, to be honest.
I can imagine. So then you've decided to work on the railways at Didcot.
Yeah, 2000. I had a couple of years of fiddling around with Hove and trying to flog that, which didn't take off. Simple as that. Got offered a job on the railways. Well, I didn't get offered a job. I got told that there was a job going. I applied for it. Got the job. I was dispatching trains at Didcot Parkway, 10 miles from me. Always been interested in trains and railways, and I thought, do you know what? I'm probably going to have to get a job at some point. This will do for me. And I worked there for 11 years.
You didn't think, surely a man with your experience, you could have gone into the betting industry, or had it changed that much?
I had offers. I pretty much had offers, but to be honest, there wasn't anything going to happen in the industry that I hadn't already seen or even kind of brought in, instigated it. Nothing was going to happen in that industry to excite me anymore.
And Betfair is fully entrenched at this point.
It was, yeah.
I mean, the people I've spoken to, and I think it's fairly obvious to say that if you can accurately price anything, it's a shoo-in that you'll win punting. Have you got the knack to price up anything accurately? So did you, Betfair at its height, loads of liquidity, were you not tempted to become a professional punter or at least a professional trader?
While I was working on the railway, very rarely I wouldn't even know. I hadn't been to Swindon when I eventually went back there. I think there was a gap of about 15 years. I would wake up, I'd go and do my work in there. I would wake up and not even be thinking about having a bet. It's never really bothered me having a bet. I was just kind of not overly bothered till I retired with the master plan of this is how I'm going to make my money. I would back horses. I would use Betfair. I'd back horses with bookmakers. I would only have a bet with a bookmaker if there was an opportunity there. I would back with bookmakers. I would lay it slightly shorter on the exchange.
Hang on a minute, that's Arbin.
Well, it kind of is. It is Arbin, but however,
I don't see anything wrong with Arbin, I hasten to add. But anyway.
Sorry?
I don't see anything wrong with Arbin, I hasten to add.
Well, this is how I see it. If you as a bookmaker put up 11 to 4, and I want 60 quid on it, and I should be on, right? If it's still there 5 minutes later, and I want another 60 quid, surely if you don't want to lay it, you should have cut it to 5 to 2. That's that's the basics of it, and I think I would be fair in saying that. Well, I would only have a bet if I could take advantage of an opportunity. But the real key thing was if and when the horse would win at a bigger price, excuse me, than I backed it at. So in other words, if I've had 60 quid at 3 to 1 and it wins at 4s, there's 60 quid extra for me. And that was like there was a few quid spinning around different accounts and on the exchange, but that was like my bonus, if you can understand that. And in the short time that it lasted, it's only lasted 4 months, I was getting over £1,000 a month in best odds guaranteed payouts. Plus the odds, 40 quid a day, 50 quid a day. I bet 15, 20 horses a day, 70 quid a day. I could do it 7 days a week with a minimum of fuss, 2 phones, laptop, sit indoors, go out, park up in the car somewhere, pick and choose, do it on the train. It was all there. I'm getting information. I'm 0% commission on the exchange. The only downside, can't get a bet on. That was the end of that.
So finally and briefly, are you retired now from it?
I would say, from betting, I honestly would say...
Even though you do all those prices, you put all that work in?
Yeah, I would say yes. I do. I enjoy pricing the dogs up. I enjoy going over more for a social catch up with a couple of trainers and owners, but it's more a social side. I don't need to look to go betting. It's, yeah, retired is the word.
But if anybody wants the benefit of your wisdom, they can message you on
Message
Twitter.
me, yeah, more than willing to help. More
Brilliant.
than willing.
Well, Steve COULING, thank you very much.
No problem, Simon.